The 17th presidential election was on November 2nd, 1852. This election was consisted of 6 parties. These parties were the Democratic, Whig, Free Soil, Union, Native American, and Southern Rights parties. The Democratic Party chose former New Hampshire Senator Franklin Pierce as their presidential candidate, and Alabama Senator William R. King as their vice presidential candidate. The Whig Party was divided while choosing who to choose for their nominees. Millard Fillmore, who was the incumbent president, had support from the South, but Winfield Scott had support from the North. In the end, the Whig Party wanted to have a closer identification with the North. The Whigs chose Commanding General Winfield Scott as their presidential candidate, and Secretary to the Navy William A. Graham as their vice presidential candidate. As the Free Soil parties were losing support, with their supporters going back to either the Democratic or Whig parties, they continued to pursue their anti-slavery agenda. The Free Soil Party chose New Hampshire Senator John P. Hale as their presidential candidate and George Washington Julian as their vice presidential nominee. The Union Party was created as an anti-Scott party, but shared many of the same beliefs as the Whig Party. They chose Daniel Webster as their presidential candidate and Charles J. Jenkins as their vice presidential candidate. The Native American Party was an anti-immigration party. They chose Jacob Broome as their presidential candidate and Raynell Coates as their vice presidential candidate. The Southern Rights Party was made up of former Democratic Party members who supported secession from the Union. As they didn't want to support peace, they chose former Georgia Senator George Trout as their presidential candidate and former Mississippi Governor John A. Quitman as their vice presidential candidate. The Whigs and Democrats ran on the personality of their nominees rather than policy. Scott's anti-slavery stance hurt his performance in southern states. Only 9 days before the election, Daniel Webster died and caused the Union Party to fall apart. In the end, Franklin Pierce won 50.84% of the popular vote and 85.81% of the electoral vote.